like a lot of us, we think too small and we act too small, take action too small. Like, oh, I want to get featured in a couple of magazines, and we reach out to a couple of people and we think about it for a long time. We don't actually take action. And I think the more unrealistic you are, putting something out there that makes you actually scared, so you'll take action and you'll get results. I think it's the most important thing. And it's actually rare to see anybody doing that because they're too scared to put themselves out there because they know they might fail.
You're about to learn what it takes to live free of fear, to finally feel confident in your work, and to step into your true authenticity as an artist. Get ready, because this is where we learn to stand out, to say yes to creating the work that we so deeply desire. Welcome. I'm Denise Birdsong, and I teach photographers and artists how to finally make their mark. So, hey everybody, welcome back. In this episode, I'm incredibly excited to introduce you to someone who I pretty much fangirl over. He is an incredibly beautiful artist, an amazing entrepreneur, and somebody that I think all of our audience is going to be able to learn a lot from. So today we have with us, all the way from Australia, we have Jai Long with us. Hi, Jai. You want to say hi to everybody?
Hi. Yeah, how are we? I'm so excited to be here.
Yep, I'm very excited to have you. Thank you so much for joining us today. So Jai is actually the creator of the Wedding Summit, which I think is so amazing, Jai. From what I understand, or from what I've heard, is you were tired of waiting for WPPI to come knocking, and so you
That's right.
decided to do it yourself. Yeah, like fuck WPPI, pardon my language, but really, like, as soon as I started listening to your podcast, I was like, why didn't they see the value that he had to bring? And I should
I'm still waiting.
Are you really? Like, that's crazy. I've spoke at WPPI, I think 4 or 5 times now. I'll definitely talk to Arlene if you wanna be at WPPI. I'll talk. You're a brilliant artist, an amazing business person. You should totally be there. But the idea that you actually went out and created this summit on your own because you knew you had so much value to bring, I think that's absolutely amazing. So kudos to you for like going and getting what you want and not waiting for someone to give it to you. Because that's not how the world works. We have to go and get what we want as opposed to waiting for people to bring it to us. So I think that's super rad. So he is the creator of the Wedding Summit. He is also the founder and creator of a business map for wedding photographers. And he does this to help photographers get to six-figure incomes plus, and has a tremendous amount of very successful students. He's also, as I said in the beginning, a really beautiful artist. Like, his work is really good. And his photography business is Set the Bird Free. You guys should check him out there. And he's also a podcaster at Make Your Break. And
Make Your Break.
I think all of those clothes we see behind you are actually your new clothing line.
That's right, yeah.
Which is No Skin. It's a vegan clothing line, which is super awesome. And I'm just curious, like, is there anything that you don't do? I don't know. It sounds like you do everything. No, there's nothing.
I've got everything covered.
Yeah. Are you a surfer as well? I know you're in Australia. Are you out there?
A little bit, but not as much as some might think.
Okay, you're not out there with the sharks that much.
No.
Okay, well, honestly, I'm really excited to have you here. I totally love your work. Like I said, I'm kind of fangirling. I think your work is absolutely beautiful. And that's a lot coming from me. I'm quite particular in regard.
Well, I'm honored. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely. I also really love your podcast. And that's also a lot coming from me because I don't, can I say this? Many of them? I don't listen to a whole lot of podcasts, but I do totally dig yours. It's awesome. Every time I listen to it, I come away with like really good information, and I don't always find that. And you've been an inspiration to me because I'm starting my podcast.
Yeah, I think a lot of podcasts kind of waste a lot of people's time, and they don't really give much tangible action plans or inspiration. So they're just people talking for the sake of talking.
Yeah. No, and I find that yours is not like that. I mean, quite frankly, most of the time I would rather listen to music than a podcast. But listening to your podcast is very helpful. Actually, I found it very enjoyable and learned a lot of wonderful things. And I absolutely fucking love your style. All of these things like make for like the perfect combination. And you've got so much good
Awesome.
information to give. So unlike WPPI, I immediately
Hmm.
saw the value that you had to bring, and I wanted to bring you onto my podcast so that I could introduce you to my audience, and we could get them some awesome information. So I was hoping today
Let's do it. Let's get
yeah,
into it.
I was hoping that we could talk about a couple of things. And again, sorry for such a long intro, but you're such a rad dude. Like, I mean, I what am I supposed to do? You've got all these list of wonderful accomplishments, buddy. I had to do it. So I was listening to one of your podcasts recently, and you were talking about setting unreasonable goals. And it was a pretty big moment for me. It was a good one. And so I thought maybe that we could talk about that with our audience and our listeners today.
It's I think it's just really important. Like a lot of us, we think too small, and we act too small, take action too small. Like we're like, good examples is like, oh, I want to get featured in a couple of magazines, and we reach out to a couple of people and we think about it for a long time. We don't actually take action. And I think the more unrealistic you are, putting something out there that makes you actually scared, so you'll take action and you'll get results. I think it's the most important thing. And it's actually rare to see anybody doing that because they're too scared to put themselves out there because they know they might fail. But the thing is, if you want to do something that other people are not doing, is you need to get to the failing point. So you're always pushing past, and then you can see what you can do that others can't, or what you didn't believe that you could do yourself. So I think setting attainable realistic goals is just work. That's just basically doing a list for your day, and then setting unrealistic goals gets you scared, and then that gets you out of bed in the morning, that gets you thinking differently, that gets you brainstorming more, that gets you scaling up, that gets you advertising more, like doing whatever it takes to hit those goals that you're trying to go after. And I think that's really important if you want to grow.
Right. Well, I mean, within our industry, being entrepreneurs, and within the photography genre, we have to be continually growing or evolving, or we end up looking like everybody else. We're not able to stand out, and then our hearts to serve and our hearts to create, and that artist within us is not able to flourish and grow. And so, if we're not prepared to sit in that uncomfortable space or move in that uncomfortable space and work at growing, and that's being uncomfortable, and that is
Absolutely.
failing. I mean, what my mom used to always tell me, never waste a good mistake. That is the growth process, right? We have to fail repeatedly. I can really, that word has such a horrible connotation. um, it is such a blessing to have the opportunity to have those moments, those perceived failures that actually push us forward to growth. And it's those of us who are willing to be uncomfortable that are able to do it. And I'm actually in that situation right now, starting a new venture, starting a podcast, doing all this. I'm learning, this is all brand new to me. I don't have I'm traveling. I don't have a wonderful mic right now. I don't have fantastic lighting. But if I waited until everything was absolutely perfect, and I had taken all of the speaking classes, and I was enunciating everything perfectly, and my cadence was absolutely brilliant, and I was totally polished, and I never said a four-letter word, I would never get anything out. It would never happen. And so, yeah, it for me, setting that unrealistic goal was like creating this podcast to reach my students and share more information with them. And it has been incredibly uncomfortable the whole way through. But they're getting better each time I do it. And I'm probably going to suck at it until I'm brilliant at it. And I'm okay with that. I'll suck at it until I'm really brilliant at it. And each time I do it, I'll learn something new. So in your experience, like, do you have an example like that where you just sucked and you just kept sucking until like you just kept pushing through for that unrealistic goal and then met it? I mean, I'm pretty certain I've read that you have quite a few of those, but I'd love to hear it from you.
Basically everything that I do. Like I suck at everything. So like it's, most people think that you're born with a lot of talent, but you're not. You need to kind of like lean into what your superpowers are and what you're good at. If I looked at all the skills that I don't, that I started off with, that was just horrible. I couldn't talk in front of the camera. I'm terrible at talking audio. I'm terrible at sitting in a classroom. I don't have an attention span. I'm terrible at so many things, but then I always lean into my superpowers. How can I do it a little bit different? How can I make it exciting for myself? And how can I just keep going without the fear of being judged? Because it's only me judging myself. That's what I have to overcome. I don't really care about everyone else. But yeah, it's definitely a limiting belief thinking that we need to be good at what we do, especially when we first start, right?
Right.
You only get good with quantity. Like quantity equals quality, because the more that you show up, the more you know how to speak on something like this, the more that you know when to publish, the more that you know what kind of content people love, the more that you know how to launch a business, like whatever it is. And we think a lot of the times the first thing we're going to do is the best thing that we're ever going to do. And then there's nothing after that. But really, the first thing is just the first page out of your book. And you got to just keep writing, and it's not going to be amazing at the start and people won't listen, but people listen to the people that are persistent. Who's judging them? They're the ones that win.
Yeah, yeah. One other thing that we've started talking to our students about and within our community is messaging. And a lot of the messaging that we've been using traditionally, everybody kind of follows everybody else's messaging, and it's just kind of all backwards. We're really not getting to like the heart of what our end clients. So as photographers, the heart of what our end clients want. They don't want to hear necessarily our stories or what we've accomplished, what we can do. They want to hear, how we're going to make them feel, what the end result is going to be for them, all of these things. And so as we're going through this messaging course, I'm meeting like so much resistance from students because they're so like locked in their way and they don't want to move through that uncomfortableness, but the ones that are being so incredibly successful. And I see that in everything that we do, all of our students that we teach our methodology to, the ones that really lean into it, the ones that are willing to be wholeheartedly vulnerable and just fall down and totally lean into that vulnerability, and set those expectations, the unrealistic ones, like I am going to be, an industry leader, period. I'm going to be an industry leader. I'm going to be recognized within the industry. They actually end up making it. Like they have to fight and claw and work, and they have to stretch and grow, but they get there. And you're right, they do it over and over. I think we have a mutual acquaintance, Jose Villa. And I remember the first time I met Jose, I had no idea who he was, a long time ago. And very naive young girl, just starting in the photography industry. And he was co-teaching at a workshop that I went to. And gosh, he was so sweet to me. I just had no idea who he was, though. I didn't even realize he was one of the educators. I just thought he was one of the participants, right? And I remember he kept trying to take my picture, and I'm adverse to having my photo taken. And I was like, no, stop, I don't want my picture taken. And finally someone said to me, that is Jose Villa trying to take your picture. What are you doing? And I was like, oh, what do I know, right? And then he got up and he gave his presentation. And one of the things that he talked about was submitting his work repeatedly, just over and over and over and over again, and being rejected over and over and over and over again, until finally he started being picked up. And it was just with that momentum. And that type of, story and that type of analogy relates to everything that we do as entrepreneurs in our businesses. We just have to keep going and getting better at it. So is there anything else that you would add that would be helpful in setting unrealistic goals that are going to push people past that point of discomfort and help them get to the place that they want to be?
Yeah. Like with goal setting, one mistake that people make is setting them once a year, usually at the start of the year, and then they forget about their goals. And I think if you like a goal to me is so important. It's usually my livelihood. It's something that I'm going after. It's my target, right? So anything important to me needs to be done every day, right? I don't anything that's important. I don't read a book once a week. I read every single day. I don't post on Instagram once a week. I post 3 times a day, and I make sure that everything important in my life, like writing down my goals, I write down every single day, because we get distracted with all the little things that we do in our businesses, and we forget the big overall what we're going for, the target. And then when we forget, we start complaining and whinging about all the little things that we got going on, because we forget about the giant overall picture. So many of us fall into this trap, like it's kind of like, I don't want to be wasting my time on this and this and this. And I think for me, like, I don't mind using my time doing those smaller tasks or whatever it is, because every single morning, if I look at my goals, I know what I'm going after. I know what I'm building towards. I know also what I should say no to, what I should say yes to, what's going to move me closer to that. And I think that's really important to have that clarity, because if you don't have a clear target, you can't hit it. You can't hit a blurry target. And every day that we wake up, we're always blurry. Um, we got no clarity around what is it that we're actually going for. Does that make sense? So I think like an
Absolutely.
actionable plan is get out that journal and start writing down what's important for you every day. And the way I write it is I write it in the future tense, so as if I've already hit the goal, because
Mm.
I like to imagine what it's like and the fulfillment of actually hitting that goal. And then once I finish writing them down, once I finish daydreaming, I don't have it anymore, so it gets taken away from me. So then I want to show up relentlessly to make that happen.
That's awesome. So that's kind of like anchoring, and that's actually using the subconscious to also influence your conscious thought. So that writing it in the future tense and doing all of that is actually something that's going to like stimulate it subconsciously, which is going to keep pushing you consciously even when you're not like thinking about it. That subconscious is going to keep picking at it. So that's a really good anchor. That's a great tip. Guys, y'all need to write that down and definitely start doing that. I'm going to start doing that too. That was brilliant. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that before, but I'm definitely using that one. So I'm going to put a link in this to send everyone to this specific podcast because it was fantastic. And I think everybody really needs to go take a listen to it, guys. It's got a ton of really good information for you. Um, and there was another episode. I mean, I've listened to almost out your entire library, and again, it's
Thank you.
fantastic. The guests that you have are brilliant. You're fantastic. It's wonderful. But another one that really blew me away was the three things. And I think the reason it was so impactful for me is because I don't tell anybody, Jai. This is just going to be between you and I. I might be guilty of some of this stuff. So one of the reasons I think it really spoke to me is because perhaps, maybe, we're not telling anybody, I might be guilty of some of these things. So I would love it if you would talk to us about some of the things that we're doing that really kind of cost us.
Yeah, I'd love to. I mean, one of the things is two of the things you're gonna have to re-jog my memory on which three things you're talking about, like which episode we're talking about here. The second thing is a lot of the times we get triggered by something because we're guilty of it, and I am guilty all the time. Like so we all are, and that's why in self improvement, it's not about listening to people that you agree with all the time or things that you already know. It's about learning something new and being challenged in your mindset, and then understanding why does it actually affect me, like why am I triggered by this, and then moving forward from there. So I think that's very, very important, but too many people stay in their own tribe and they only want to hear what they want to hear, and they're in a fallback loop of just like regurgitating the same content, hearing the same content, and it's in a big loop. But if you want to re-jog my memory of which podcast
Absolutely.
episode you're talking about.
Absolutely. So one of the things that really stood out to me that I'm actually not guilty of, this is one of the things I got over a long time ago, but I know that a lot of my students struggle with, and probably a lot of people that listen to me struggle with, was the cost of bad advice and going into Facebook groups and getting bad advice, or and then what that does to like your cost analysis in your business when you follow that bad advice. So if you want to start with that, that would be fantastic because that was just like, oh yeah, nail on head kind of moment. I mean, we've heard it before, but the way that you explained it was like, oh, this is just so beautifully and brilliantly put. And hopefully it's going to hit home way for others the way that it did for me.
Yeah, so I do remember that episode now. So yeah, one of the biggest things that costs us so much is the cost of taking on bad advice, and we find it everywhere. You just have to ask one of your friends for some advice, and they'll tell you some terrible advice. Don't take risk, or do this, or don't do this. And a lot of the times we listen to it, and we listen to it, and we take it on as if it's real advice, especially if you're in Facebook groups and you're listening to people that you deem that have some sort of authority, or if you're on YouTube, someone's got a channel, so you believe it's going to be good advice. And I believe like it does this more damage sometimes, especially if someone's telling us something and they're not educated on the subject to tell us that thing, right? Or they don't give us action plans, and it leaves you a little bit more stuck. And so I see this over and over and over, and it makes people very uncomfortable. A good example is like when someone tells you like charge what you're worth and put up your price and never work for free. And it's like, what does that actually even mean, right? It just
Yeah.
means like now I'm all blurry, and now I don't know what to do, and now I feel bad if I do something for free, and now I feel bad if I'm not charging the right price. But I've got no actionable tips to actually go after it, so it actually damages my business. And a lot of the times, and people don't realize this, and I'm a big believer in like paid education. Like, these days you can pay for education from your favorite mentors, your coaches, your favorite whoever it is. But too many of us, we go and try and seek out the free education, and it not only wastes our time, but it actually can have a massive opportunity cost on our business. Does that
Yeah.
make sense? And I think that getting free education, even though it's like, yeah, I'm signing up to the free workshop, or I'm listening to someone on whatever, it's not helping our business, and it's not helping us grow in the direction that we want to grow. So sometimes it's like, hey, you could save yourself a lot of money, a lot of time if you actually seeked out the person that has the results that you have, and then you can listen to one person and study exactly what they do, so you can get and replicate the results or the success that they have.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. Like I see so often, oh my God, I see it so much within the genre that I'm educating in currently. I see it so very much where people go into groups and get so much bad advice. And it just, ooh, I have to stay out of Facebook. I really do. I have to stay out of the groups because it hurts my heart to watch this happening over and over. And I'm
Hmm.
in reading about your education and what you do, like, oh my God, it's like, it's music to my ears. It is and correct me if I'm wrong, because of not taking your education. I plan on it. I'm going to,
Awesome.
but I haven't yet. Yeah, I mean, I'm
Love to
I'm
have you.
also a huge proponent of continued education, and I'm always looking to continue to
Exactly.
grow and learn. Despite the fact that I'm an educator, I'm constantly taking classes myself. And be kind of hypocritical if I didn't, I think.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I read when going through all of your stuff was that you have a actionable plan, a map. Obviously, it's kind of in the title, it's explanatory, right? So you have a map, and you work with your students, but it's not a do as I do 100%. It's I'm going to share this information with you, and then you're going to tailor it for what's best with you. So you don't have to go reinventing the wheel, but you don't have to do exactly what you're doing, because not everybody has the same demographics. Not everybody has the same skill level. Not everybody has the same studio. Not everybody's been in business for the same amount of time. And so learning to be like a true entrepreneur and think critically, but also have a proven methodology that works, that you can customize and tailor for yourself, as opposed to going into a group where everybody's saying, who cares if you started shooting a month ago? Charge $6,000 for something when you just don't have the skill level for it. Or if you do go into a group and you're a photographer who's been shooting for 5 years, but the demographics of your area aren't going to permit you to charge more than $5,000. And then everyone around you is like up in arms, like, what is your problem? Why aren't you charging $10,000? I'm sorry, none of these people have anything to say about your business. They're not the experts. They're people who have too much time on their hands that are chatting in Facebook groups. Like, put your head
Exactly.
down and get the work done. And the idea of having a roadmap that you can customize and a mentor to work with that's going to help you with that is in the long run. Okay, so the investment upfront is there, but in the long run, it is going to make you so much money. And hello, here in the States, this is like a tax write-off in your business, guys. Like, it's no skin off your back. You're going to grow and you're going to do better. And you don't have all of that stress, Jai, of like trying to figure it out on your own, or getting all of this crap and shit advice from people and feeling bad about the things that you're doing, and start creating those blocks, those self-limiting beliefs yourself. because you're listening to all of the noise around you. I think so much of that today needs to be removed. And you talked earlier about people just wanting to stay with their tribe. And in some ways, you're right. You need to look outside of your tribe and challenge like your ideas and your beliefs. But I think in other ways, so many of us need to find our tribes. And you are the, generally speaking, the sum of like the 5 or 6 people that are closest to you. You're going to be like that person. So finding like-minded people that are going to raise you up and communities that are going to raise you up, that's what we all should be working towards. Your community looks to be very much like that to me. Your education looks to be very much like that to me. And so that's a little bit of a segue right there. Unless you have anything else that you want to add about the cost of the negative things we do. I thought that one really was important to me. And actually, I'm gonna retract that. I'm not gonna let you talk about that further because I really do think that everybody should go and listen to the whole thing. It's a really good podcast with a lot of really good tangible information that you all should go listen to and let sink in. So I'm gonna link that in the bio as well. And if you guys aren't following Jai, you really should do that. You guys know I don't tell you to follow a whole lot of people because I personally don't follow a whole lot of people. And this is someone who I've gotten a lot of value from, and I think that you guys should go follow him. So I would like to talk about some of the things that you have coming up. I know that we have Summit coming up soon that I'm going to be a part of, and I'm very much looking at your mentor program as well. For the wedding arm of my business. So why don't you talk to that? And guys, just in case you don't know, Jai is a wedding photographer, amongst many other things. And so for those of you out there who are wedding and portrait photographers, this is something you really want to pay attention to.
Yeah, so just to wrap everything up, let's talk about a couple of things that we got coming up. So we got the Wedding Photography Summit. It's huge. It's one of if not the biggest workshop in the world for wedding photographers, and that's going to come up in November 2021. And we have a killer lineup. We're still trying to finalize everybody that's going to be talking, but it's going to be a lot of fun, and there's just so much good education there. I also have the Six-Figure Business Map, which I'm opening up next month, which is going to be a huge thing. We're starting off with a $9 3-day workshop with me on pricing to overhaul your pricing, because there's so many people that just don't feel confident with pricing. They just don't know. They feel like if they're going to put up their prices, they're going to lose their clients. If they they just get so stuck on just understanding exactly how much they need to charge and to keep everybody happy, but especially keeping their family happy and their business happy and their business sustainable for years to come. So we're doing that next month, which is going to be huge. And then hopefully people progress and they come and join me for 12 months inside my Six-Figure Business Map, and I can help them transform, like help them on their journey of building a business that they're proud of. And I think that's really important. And that's what we're here for. Myself, my team, the coaches, everything. We're here to help you on your journey on it's either quitting your job or scaling up your business or better serving your clients, like whatever it is. You want to attract those right clients so people stop asking you for discounts and things like that. That's what the program's for, and we're dedicated to it. So there's group calls, there's all sorts of things going on. So it's a group coaching course, and I'd love to have you in there as well. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, you're going to be stuck with me, darling. I'm totally going to be in there. I really want to see what's inside of it. I'm super excited about it. Not shooting as many weddings as I used to. And I do need to really work on changing my pricing and all of those good things. So, and I do want to keep it at a 6-figure with shooting less weddings and changing up some of the things that I do. So I just want to thank you so much for taking the time. I know that we both had a lot going on today. It was a little bit of a difficult day for both of us, but you're amazing and you offered us some really good stuff, and I appreciate that. And I was just hoping, crossing my fingers, maybe I could have just like a teensy bit of personal time with you before you go. I wanted to play a little game with you because you're in Australia. And I don't know, I could be
Let's do it.
wrong, but you kind of look like, I mean, a music guy to me. Am I wrong?
Yeah, I love music. Absolutely.
Okay, so this is what I did. I'm a music girl. I made a list of my top 10 favorite Australian bands since you're in Australia. Like, pay homage to like the homeland for you, right? And I thought maybe you could give me like your favorite top five or top 10 bands. And I don't know, you pick who goes first and we'll do it and we'll just have a little fun and then we'll sign off.
Yeah, Australian bands. I'd say one of my top favorite, which is one that you would probably have heard of before, but it's Tame Impala.
I
I'm guess.
haven't, and so I'm gonna
Ah,
start
they're
taking
amazing.
notes. Okay.
So they're probably the biggest band that's come out of Australia in the last few years. They've kind of hit everything, all the charts and everything. Wolf Mother I was listening to this morning. It's an Australian band that came out of where I grew up, which was really fun. But sometimes I like to listen. They're a little bit older now. They're probably 10 years old, but I like to just sort of travel back and listen to those guys. Australian bands. I know
It
you
can
guys
be
probably know.
it can be anywhere in the world. It doesn't have to be Australian. And you don't have to
Oh,
pick
okay.
10. You can just give me a couple.
Yeah, I really love Radiohead. Radiohead has got
Mm.
I love their artistic approach to a lot of things. I think that's really, really cool. I actually love a lot of old hip hop and stuff like that because I grew up like obviously in the 90s. So I love stuff like Eminem and all those OGs, I guess, from back
Can
in the
you give
90s
me
that
a Wu-Tang Clan, please? Can you please
yeah,
give me the
absolutely. I was actually
Wu-Tang?
just watching the Wu-Tang show on Netflix or Stan or whatever
Yeah,
it is, which is really
Netflix.
cool. Yeah.
Old dirty bastard. I'm an old dirty bastard girl.
Yeah, I
He's
think
my
I got
favorite.
a soft spot for all those 90s hip hop and rap and all that kind of stuff for sure. Um, but yeah, that's pretty much it right now. That's all I'm sort of been digging.
Okay, so I did mine in order, but I'm gonna jump. I got to see Wolf Mother at oh God, what was it? It was probably like 12 or 13 years ago. I got to see them at South by Southwest in Austin, which is like the world's largest music festival. It was amazing. I also got to see Jet there. So I saw Jet and Wolf Mother when they were like nobodies, right? Like they're just out in Austin playing in like little tiny dive bars, and it was brilliant. I loved both of them. So those are two of my Australian bands. My list is way more ancient than your list, and you're probably going to be like, what the are you even talking about? But you guys should go check out this music. So, the Saints, number one, a favorite Australian band, is absolutely the Saints. They're probably like, they are the very first punk rock band and like the most amazing band ever. Do you like them? Have you heard of them? Huge fan of the Saints. I also got to see them at South by Southwest. They were so like old fellas, but they were at South by Southwest and they rocked it. They were amazing. I've loved them since I was a young girl. And then of course there's Roland S. Howard, obviously one of like the greatest things that's ever come out of Australia. The Bee Gees, what? You have to love the Bee Gees for sure, right? And then of course the birthday party, Nick Cave and the birthday party are like a must, right? In excess, I think Michael Hutchence might have been the very last rock star. I don't know. I don't know if anybody else has had that kind of swagger and that kind of just like presence. Like they were so amazing. Um, Crowded House, right? Um, the Divinals, they're okay. They had to be on there. They're from Australia. They're pretty good.
I love it.
Total guilty pleasure, Kylie Minogue, but we're not going to tell anybody. That's our secret. Okay. Nobody
That's
gets to
funny.
know that Kylie Minogue. It's a guilty pleasure. And then a couple honorable mentions were the Easy Beats from the 60s. That was like such seminal, like 60s garage rock. So damn good. And then for 70s, the Little River Band, they were awesome too. So even though all the poisonous, crazy things live in Australia, and it sounds like a really scary place to me, you guys make really good music and you guys make really good entrepreneurs and photographers, Mr. Jai Long.
Yes,
You've
thank you
been,
so much.
yeah, you've been awesome. So I want to thank you so much. If you could tell everybody where they can find you, that would be fantastic because I would like everybody listening to
Let's
go
do it.
follow. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, hey, if you guys want to come listen to my podcast, it's called Make Your Break. I'm on there weekly. I've been on there weekly for the last 2 years now. So there's lots of good content, tons of episodes, and love to see you over there. And if you want to just send me a DM message on Instagram at jailong.co. I'm always on there and I love to hear from people and I love to say hi. So don't be shy. I get back to everyone and I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited
Oh,
to be on your podcast.
it was my pleasure. Thank you so much, Shaya. Have a wonderful day. Everybody have a fantastic day, and we'll see you next week with our next episode. Bye, guys.